What's up, YouTube viewers and podcast listeners? Welcome back to MJ's Thoughts. I'm your host, MJ. Thank you for tuning into my thoughts. I'm rejoined this evening once again by my lovely mother, KJ, to discuss some more lines from another book. That book today is The Starless Sea by Aaron Morgenstern, which, for the record, when I was reading this, I thought that was a super cool character name, as it was. Morgenstern is kind of a cool last name, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's her pen name.
That's a good... I never know, you know. The only pen name I know is J.K. Rowling, just because she's so famous.
Mark Twain.
Anyway.
Just throwing that out there.
And also, while I was reading this, I kept wanting to say A Starless Sea instead of The Starless Sea. And for some reason, it fit better for me, but it doesn't matter. We're not here to discuss the book.
It's not a book club.
It's not a book club. We're going to talk about some lines. And I guess without further ado, we should just go into it, right?
Yeah.
We only have 3 today. I don't know what that says about the book. Not much, I guess. But of course, we're not reviewing the book because it's not a book club. Once again.
Not that book clubs are bad.
As some of us think. Anywho, I'll start it off with quote number 1. Here we go. A boy at the beginning of a story has no way of knowing that the story has begun. And that's from the narrator inside of a book inside of the book. The book is comprised of like 2 or 3 other books inside of the book itself. And that was within one of the other books inside the book. It's a little complex, but don't worry about it. It's not important to this video. What do you think, Mom?
Well, I start with I like the quote, but you and I tend to both like similar things that you pull out. But, you know, I think of this from the literary perspective of it, as a character at the beginning of the story has no way of knowing that the story has begun. But that's because in life, a person at the beginning of their life has no way of knowing that their life story has begun. You know, so I think of it as an analogy to when we start life out. And even though at the beginning of a baby or a child's life, I'm sure there are people who think that they know how that story is going to go. Their parents probably have somewhat of a plan, but if you really think about it, nobody has control over the way a person's life is going to go. So nobody ever knows.
Except the individual, sort of, in a way.
After a while, they have more control over it, but...
it's kind of funny we went on that sort of tangent right there, because when I think of this quote, I skip immediately to adulthood. And when I skip immediately to adulthood, I think every adult, whether it feels like it or not, has full control over their own destiny, per se. Do you disagree?
Well, I think that every adult thinks that they have more control over their destiny than they do.
The complete opposite. See, I think at any given moment, an individual, an adult, really, because I think kids are, you know, sort of molded into this thing by, you know, teachers and other things, and it has to be that way. Otherwise, how would they learn and things like that?
Right.
Adults, to me, adults at any, I don't care if you're homeless. I don't care if you grew up in a hedge fund family, what have you. At any point in time, you can choose where you want your life to go. You can pull yourself up by the bootstraps if you have it in you to do so. And you can make something out of your life. And if we're going to talk about a homeless person for a second, going from homelessness to Jeff Bezos rich, not realistic and not necessary. For a homeless person to simply gather their life about them and move forward is an accomplishment in itself. It's not like they need to pull themselves up and then go make millions of dollars. There's different levels of success for different people, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I think the important thing is, at any given point in time, we can choose, or at least I believe we can choose to go pursue whatever it is we want in our lives.
And I 100% agree with you. I think that there's some quote out there. I know that your dad has had this quote hanging. The greatest, something along the lines of the greatest thing that humans have is the power to choose. And so, yes, we have the power to choose, and there are a lot of things that we can control and are in control of. But I also believe that there are things that can be introduced to our lives that we can't control as well.
It's true,
and
but
we can come up with lots of examples. Unfortunate examples.
But you can choose how you react to it.
True.
You can choose how you react to it. You can choose at any point.
Right.
To take it a little bit further, I was thinking, you can choose, but the moment after you choose, you're going to hit some road bumps,
yes,
some roadblocks in whatever you're trying to accomplish. And it's also being able to work through those and keep moving forward.
Yes.
Because it says, boy, the beginning of a story has no way of knowing the story has begun. So you could choose to go pursue something, run into a serious roadblock early on, and then some people would consider giving up right there. And whether or not you do or do not is that point in the story when you don't know if you're at the beginning or not. If you choose to give up, you'll never know where you would have ended up. But if you choose to keep moving forward, at least you have something of an idea, and you may make it in whatever pursuit you're trying to accomplish.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that too. And I think that knowing ahead of time that there are things that are going to come into your life that you won't have 100% control of except for how you react to it is absolutely no reason to not continue to make choices to get you to where you want to be. Absolutely no excuse for that too. So,
Right on, Mom. Hot start.
Yep, that was good.
All right, let's move on to number 2, I think. If that's
okay.
Cool with you.
Yep.
Would you like to read it?
I will. So, Matthew's next quote is, "Books are always better when read rather than explained." And that came from the mini book inside the Starless Sea called The Ballad of Simon and Eleanor.
Yes, and to go back to the first quote, the first quote came from another mini book inside the book called Sweet Sorrows. I didn't name it. But so these first 2 quotes are from 2 different mini books inside the book. It got a little swampy in there, but no worries. Yes, I highlighted this one, and I don't remember the day I did it or the moment or whatever it was, but I feel like when I did, I was sort of laughing to myself because, as you know, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people especially when I'm reading a book, when they stop me while I'm reading to ask me what I'm reading and what it's about. It drives me up a wall. I can't stand it. Just, you have a phone probably on you. Look at the title of the book I'm reading. Look it up yourself.
I do it all the time.
Don't interrupt me. I am in the zone. Get out of my face. Get out of my life. And so, I know that's not necessarily like a profound thing to say in terms of this quote, so I guess I'll try to go there for a second. Books are always better when read rather than explained. There's no possible way. Part of the reason why it drives me nuts in such a way is because there's no possible way for me to explain to that person asking me what the book is about. There's no possible way for me to explain adequately how the book is going, what it's about, how much I like it. It's just too much. I would much rather than just go read it for themselves, and we can talk about it later if you really want to, even though I don't really want to do that then either. Just don't even get me started. What do you think, Mom?
I have a lot to say on this, Matthew. And speaking of books, Matthew and I are a little on different pages on this one. Because, number one, when I'm reading a book and somebody asks me what's it about, I don't mind stopping. It's not going to be a very long interruption. And they are curious to know.
That's what you think.
And they're not asking me for the entire book from beginning to end of what I'm reading and a complete summary of it. I know that's not what they want. They want the gist of what I'm reading.
You know what a summary is?
What kind of a book is it? What's going on super quick? And maybe do I even like it or not? Okay? It's kind of like when somebody comes up to you and says, "How are you?" They don't want an entire diatribe of your last medical appointment, your big toe is hurting, and
I hate that question too, Mom.
Elsa called yesterday. Okay, that's not what they want. They want I'm fine, thank you, or not having the best day. Okay, and it's the same thing with books. The gist of it, it's curiosity. Somebody's curious and curious enough to even ask you what you're reading. Why would you not jump on that and go, oh, this or this, and then give a 2-minute little snapshot of it, and then you're right back to your book. Your day really isn't slowed down that much.
It's just, it's too paltry, Mom. It's paltry. It's a grain of sand compared to a beach. Okay, I don't want to sit and talk about this grain of sand for even 2 minutes when I can go walk along this entire beach.
All right.
I know, Mom. I know. Should we move on? No?
Well,
no, absolutely.
However,
on.
though, I do agree with the quote. Books, let's get back to what the actual quote.
Right.
Books are always better when read rather than explained. That is absolutely true. I mean, I think that goes along the lines with most people would agree that the books are better than the movie. It's better when you experience it through the book than when somebody else reads the whole thing. And even if they were to spend an hour and a half telling you about it, that would definitely not replace the book.
Yeah, it's because the movie is just this condensed version of the beach.
Yes.
It's like this little strip of beach compared to beach.
Mm-hmm.
Beach.
Yes. Exactly. Or when you watch the movie or you're hearing about a book through someone else, you're experiencing it through them rather than yourself, right? It's like secondary research. So.
I think if there's any bottom line to the quote that we can draw from is that people should read more books.
Yeah.
Just go read the book.
And on that,
go pick a book up and read it.
And on that, you and I are on the same page. So
all right.
That's good.
Okay, Mom. We can move on to...
Yes, we can.
Move on to our third and final quote here. I guess this will be something of a shorter video, but that's all good. All the other ones are pretty long, so people are probably pretty bored. It doesn't matter. But third and final quote is as follows. It's also a short quote. Important things hurt sometimes. And that's it. And that's by a character named Eleanor from the book, if you feel like reading it. What do you think, Mom?
Well, I think it's a pretty succinct way of saying something that's absolutely true in life. And I think important things hurt maybe a lot of times, even. So.
Yeah, we sort of had two different takes on this one. And mine was geared towards the idea of, sacrificing for big things in your life that you want. So like we talked last video about how when you go to college and you want to get a degree, you're gonna have to take some nights in to study for tests and things like that. You're gonna have to give up social gatherings and things like that. And that's sort of what I thought about when I read the quote is, if you want to achieve something great, you're going to have to give other things up in order to do that. So, I mean, athletes all the time. Athletes have games, they have practices, they have workouts, they have all sorts of things that if they really want to truly be a great athlete at their sport, that they're going to have to give up a whole bunch of other stuff in order to do that. Stuff that quote unquote ordinary people may or may not take for granted, but get to do pretty much every day. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're gonna apply it to all sorts of different things: running a business, going to college,
right.
Sports, what have you. Writing a book. I know about that one. But what you had an interesting take on it, if you remember.
Yes. So when I was thinking about this quote, I thought about the hurt in making the right decision, even though it hurts. So I immediately went to when it is time to. Give up is the only word I can think of it. It's not really giving up, and when it is time to know enough, right? Sometimes knowing, all right, enough, hurts, right? That dream that you worked so hard for, you're not going to get there. It's just not going to happen. And anybody who ever says, "Oh, if you dream it could," anybody can achieve anything. That's just not true. It just isn't true. Things come up, And that dream, well, no.
Like a if we're gonna go back to the sports analogy, like you blow your knee out and now like a career-ending injury type situation.
Yes, exactly. Okay. You're just not going to be able to
the things you can't control. Going back to the first quote.
And those two really connected. And I thought about that as we were sitting here. You know, sometimes you just say enough on that, and it doesn't mean you can't still steer yourself in that direction, but it's going to look different. You know, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore, but I want to be a part of it still, so I'm going to go into coaching. I'm going to be a broadcaster. Or relationships, you know, this isn't working anymore, and I want it to work so badly, but it's not working anymore, and the right thing to do is call it off, right? Mm-hmm. So, yes, knowing when enough is enough, but because you wanted it so bad, you wanted to get there so badly, or you wanted it to work so badly, you know, it hurts to do that. It's hard. It takes courage, and I haven't had to experience that too much in my life, but, you know, I know enough about other people who have and going through that, you know.
When you started talking there, way at the beginning, I thought about it, and it flashed in my head, like thinking about it in a different context and in a different way it manifests in life, and that is that the idea of doing what's right instead of what's easy. Yeah. And maybe, just as an example, maybe your friends are, you know, out there getting in trouble and making poor choices with their own lives, and they want you to go along with that, and it's being able to say, no, I don't want to be a part of that. Yeah. Sort of resisting the peer pressure and the social pressure, and that's just like one little facet inside of the doing what's right instead of what's easy idea. But yeah.
Or, you know, I mean, important things, important people, you know, people die. Important people die, and that's a killer. Or in the words of Winnie the Pooh, how does it go? How lucky are we that having to have someone who's saying goodbye is so hard, right?
That's Winnie the Pooh?
It's from Winnie the Pooh.
I mean, I would have never known that.
Yeah, it's a great quote. It's a great quote.
How lucky are we that we knew somebody that it's hard to say goodbye to, type thing.
Yeah. It's actually, how lucky am I to have someone that makes saying goodbye so hard.
Yeah, that's... Maybe we should read Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh has incredible... That should be on your reading list, but we digress. Yeah, that actually concludes our short list of quotes for this video. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want. Subscribe to the podcast if you want. It'd mean a lot. Leave comments and reviews and things like that. All 7 people who are watching or listening to this. Actually, our last video got 13, 14 listens on the podcast or whatever. So hey, we're coming up, sort of. I also have a blog. It's called MJ's Thoughts. Also, it's on Medium. I forgot to mention that last video, where you can find my thoughts in the written word if you so desire. But I think that's all we got for tonight. Okay. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'll put those links in the description. That's how that works. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. You got anything else, Mom? I don't.
All right, guys. Until next time, we do have at least one other book that we'll be doing, and then I'm gonna start reading another one that we'll do also, which is Just Mercy, by the way. But yeah, until next time, have a good one.